What's up YouTube? Jeff back again from DopeTechDaily.com, and today I'm bringing you guys a full comparison between the Honor 10 and the Huawei P20 Pro. Now, the main reason I wanted to compare these is because a lot of people ask me whether or not it's worth it to spend a little bit of extra money to get the P20 Pro, or should you save some money, get the Honor 10. So let's walk through a full comparison. These phones have a lot of things in common, but obviously they have a lot of things that are different as well because of the difference in the price. So let's talk about the price up front. The Honor 10 right here on the left, you can get on eBay right now for about $430, $440. P20 Pro, if you're going to get it on eBay, it's right around $800 right now. So you're looking at about a $350 price difference, US dollars. Obviously, prices in the other regions may vary. So that's a pretty big price difference for sure. The design's very similar. As you can see, they both have these very beautiful reflective black. I have the phantom blue here in the Honor 10 and also the blue color in the P20 Pro. The twilight color in the P20 Pro is even more reflective, but the Honor 10, you can see how it sort of shifts colors as you move through the light. It has that nice banding. So both have very similar builds there. Obviously you have the horizontal camera arrangement here on the Honor 10, where you have the vertical camera arrangement. Also 2 cameras over here, whereas you have 3 cameras on the P20 Pro. On the P20 Pro, you do have the Leica branding right there, which you don't have on the Honor 10 because it's a little bit cheaper. It just says AI camera there at the top. But very similar on the back. On the side profile, you'll notice that the Honor 10 has a matte side, whereas the P20 Pro does continue the glossiness around the edges. It makes it feel a little more seamless transition when you're holding the P20 Pro in your hand as opposed to the Honor 10, but they both feel perfectly fine. In terms of dimensions, of course, the P20 Pro is a little bit bigger. Screen size is bigger. It's also taller. It's ever so slightly thicker from the side profile. And of course, because of that extra screen real estate, it's also a hair wider if you put these sort of face to back. So the P20 Pro, overall, a bigger phone when you're looking at it from that perspective. But both of them have very premium build quality. They both also feature on the very top of the phone an IR blaster, which is something that's really gone out of fashion with other Android manufacturers. So it's great if you pick up a Huawei or Honor branded device, you do get the IR blaster. If we look on the bottom, we'll notice one of the biggest differences between these two devices. You'll notice that the Honor 10 does have a 3.5mm headphone jack. You'll also see that the one in the P20 Pro does not. See here you got speaker cutouts on both sides, whereas the headphone jack is on the other side on the Honor 10. So the build quality differences, at least around back and on the bottoms and sides of the device, are really kind of negligible. If you're looking for a beautiful device, both of these will certainly fit that profile. Next, let's talk about the display. So if we go around to the front, the Honor 10 and the Huawei P20 Pro are both running FHD plus resolution. It's just a little slightly different because of the heights and overall screen sizes, but very similar resolution. The Honor 10 has an LCD, while of course the P20 Pro has an AMOLED display. Now, in terms of the actual differences between the two, the actual color reproduction and quality differences is negligible. Even though the P20 Pro is a little bit more expensive, of course, the display actually is not where they cut corners. The LCD is just as vibrant and colorful, in my opinion, as the AMOLED display on the P20 Pro, and I have no problems using it day to day. Now, of course, I've commented in my other videos that the P20 Pro AMOLED display is not quite the same quality as what you would see on a Galaxy S9 or something like a Galaxy Note 8, but it's still very, very bright. The LCD on the Honor 10 is a little bit more dim, but still very easy to see outside. I don't think the display is a deciding factor here. Of course, you might prefer AMOLED if you're going to use the always-on display feature in the P20 Pro, because that'll save you a little bit of battery in that particular case. Next, let's talk about the specs on the devices. They both have pretty much the same specifications. If you look at the P20 Pro and the Honor 10, the specifications on the inside, you have 128 gigabytes of storage on both of these devices. You also have the Kirin 970 processor, which is very fast and really doesn't show a performance difference on either device. Both of them perform admirably. You do have 4 gigs of RAM on the Honor 10. There's a 6 gigabyte model in India, and there's 6 gigs in the P20 Pro pretty much in all regions. So the specifications on the internal side, in terms of the processor, the RAM, and the storage, they're really not that much there except for a small difference in the RAM. And in my 4 gigabyte model I have of the Honor 10, I have noticed that the apps do occasionally reload a little bit more often than they do on my P20 Pro with 6 gigs of RAM. So if you really care about that, you might want to try to get the 6 gigabyte version of the Honor 10. Otherwise, the Kirin 970 is very good at multitasking. You have no problems whatsoever doing that. Use gestures on the P20 Pro, and it's also able to handle those very well. So the internal specs are also not really a point of contention here when it comes to hardware, processor, RAM, or storage. Next, let's talk about software on the devices. Both of these devices are running Android 8.1. They're also running EMUI, the latest version. There's very negligible differences between the two software models. One thing that is different, as you guys probably noticed here, is I have the dark mode on the P20 Pro. There is no way to darken the settings interface colors on the Honor 10. I looked around for that quite a while. It's actually in the battery settings on the P20 Pro where it says darken interface colors. You'll see that that's not available in the battery settings on the Honor 10. Now that is a feature I really like, but it's a little UI quirk. It's really nothing that's going to affect the overall usability of the device. Of course, there are some little issues with notifications, for instance, getting notifications to always display in some of these battery optimizations that Huawei makes. But if you go in and do some fine tuning, and I've talked about this in past videos, you can get away with not having too many issues with notifications. EMUI has certainly gotten better over the last few years. So having Android 8.1 at launch, of course, is great to see one of the most up-to-date versions of Android. The next thing is the haptic feedback. Now this is something I've talked about in a lot of videos before, and haptic feedback, maybe not a big deal to everybody, but to me it's kind of a big deal when you type on a phone all day, every day. On the Huawei P20 Pro, the feedback is very nice, very tactile, not overly aggressive, very easy to use when typing. On the Honor 10, it is very, very aggressive and loud. When you type on the Honor 10, you can easily hear the vibration. Obviously, the Honor 10 is much louder. It also feels more aggressive when using your thumb or your index finger to swipe, and you just don't want to use the vibration. In fact, on the Honor 10, except for the purposes of this video, I completely turned off the vibration feedback, even though I like it, just because it's too aggressive. So if you're someone who really cares about the vibration motor and the haptic feedback, I would say the P20 Pro is way ahead in that category, and that might be a reason for you to even spend a little extra money if it's something that's going to annoy you like it does me. The next thing is the camera, of course, and the camera is always a big deal. Both of these phones have very nice cameras. You've got a dual camera on the Honor 10 versus the triple camera on the P20 Pro. Obviously, the P20 Pro camera is better for the extra money. You've got the Leica optics. The main difference here, though, is in low light performance, and specifically the night mode on the P20 Pro. In terms of the overall camera interfaces, they're very similar. Of course, Honor really translates over the Huawei camera interface every time. You've got some similar modes at the bottom, like the aperture mode, etc. You will notice that there is a night mode, which says night shot on the Honor 10, but this is not the same as the night mode, which is at the bottom slider here of the Huawei P20 Pro. And just to show you guys a difference between these two devices when it comes to looking at the photos, I'll show you a few sample shots that I took just to emphasize the differences in the low light. I'll drop these below with a couple of other samples. This is the Huawei P20 Pro versus the Honor 10 in low light situation here. I took this photo at night in a dark room. My wife had bought some flowers today. If you zoom in, you can really see the difference. If you zoom in the P20 Pro, the flowers are crisp using night mode. Very, very nice detail. If you zoom in on the Honor 10, while it doesn't look too bad at first glance, if you zoom in, you'll notice that these are quite blurry. You don't have nearly as good details on the flowers. I encourage you to look at the full resolution version. Also, if you look in the black background there, you'll also see some extra noise. I also took a photo under good lighting here in my studio. This is the P20 Pro versus the Honor 10, and you'll notice here there's not nearly as big of a difference. Of course, if you actually look at these in full resolution, you'll notice the P20 Pro is a bit brighter and also a little bit better detail up here in some of the fine areas of the Android, but overall it's very close. So the camera, if you really care about low light shots, especially the night mode, which the P20 Pro is the best Android phone, and I think the best phone overall for that, you're going to want to spend the extra money. This is a place where when you go from a mid-range to a big flagship, you're going to see a significant difference, and that's definitely a place you're going to notice it here. The fact that we don't have any optical image stabilization on the two cameras that you have in the Honor 10 probably makes a big difference. We actually know that there is optical image stabilization on all three of the cameras in the Huawei P20 Pro. The final thing, battery life. They're actually both very good battery life for their category. The Huawei P20 Pro does have a 4,000 milliamp hour battery. It's probably why it's slightly thicker, of course, than the Honor 10. The Honor 10 has a 3400 milliamp hour battery. I get about 5 hours screen on time from the Honor 10 in daily use, but I can get about 6.5 hours out of the P20 Pro, so it's certainly rated for a longer day's use with that larger battery inside. So those are the things that I think are differences to consider if you're going to buy the phone. Obviously, $350 difference is pretty big, but if you care about the vibration motor, haptic feedback, the quality is much, much better on the P20 Pro. If you do care about the camera quality, especially that low light, best in class, probably the best smartphone camera right now, the P20 Pro has that, and it also has that battery life advantage. So there are some pros and cons, but those are the things that should help you decide which phone you want to go with. Anyway, guys, that's my look at the Honor 10 versus the P20 Pro. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification icon so I can make future videos like this. Find me at dopetechdaily.com, Google+, Instagram, and Twitter at the links in the description. Also find me writing at gadgethacks.com or write about Android. Appreciate you guys checking it out, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks a lot for watching.